It's raining, yes, and we love our nail color, and we're still sharing in the pink journey of our nail color, right? And I'm gonna just say this lovely weather with everyone now. It's a really a lovely day, and it's a winter. It's now finally officially winter, right? Everyone, look at that! So lovely. That's where I'm at. I'm sitting and watching and enjoying some film time. And while I'm enjoying some film time, I did some of my own stuff there. And I wanted everyone to just enjoy lovely rain with me. Oh, it feels lovely. My throat, yeah. Oh, look at that. It is looking rainy outside. Lovely rain. That's not really winter in 2024. It's a very first, and I'm sharing it with everyone because I'm at home and I'm now really gonna enjoy a lovely grilled sandwich. And I'm really enjoying everything about this weather. Oh, I love everything about it. I'm just sitting and relaxing and just enjoying this lovely weather, everyone. While we are doing that, let's get everyone in the room. I'm just gonna quickly shift to the camera while I'm also doing movies, right? I'm also watching film, and I'm just home, and it is so cozy and it is so lovely. Everyone, you're gonna want to stay in the room with us just now. I'm doing film and I'm doing couch lay. For those that love to do, let me put my critics away. For those that love to do a couch lay, for those that love a warm day and that love the warm tiger, let's quickly do that. We love our warm tiger blanket. And we love our warm movie time. And I'm just quickly making some lovely toast. And then we quickly going to thank you for joining our room. It's winter, it's raining here in Auckland, New Zealand. Let us know where you're from. I'm quickly gonna go and get my sandwich and then we can continue with what I want to share on today, right? And if you didn't, then you're gonna love winter with us. Yes, thank you for staying in that room. If you didn't love winter yet, then you're gonna love winter with us. Let's quickly share for those people that just didn't. Look how lovely it's raining outside. Oh, this is so lovely. It's officially winter, yeah. It's really officially winter. And I'm officially doing that winter thing called doing exactly nothing, right? And I want to, with the most of this time during this season, I really want to do nothing exactly. And I really just want to stay sound. I just want to sit so cozy. And I just want to feel so cozy. And I just want to relax. And that's where all of us should be at, right? I should be in that, express a little bit of pause quickly on that. All of us should be all of us should just be relaxing, right? If you are still in the room, then tell us where you are from. what country you are at, because where we are at, it's now really, 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 really winter. And while we're sharing these winter moments, thank you for joining. And thank you for tuning into our room, right? We've done our hair earlier. And we really also want our hair to look nice. I know during winter time the hair gets wet, everything is wintry. But during this season, let us allow ourselves to just do nothing. And doing nothing sometimes requires so much of our attention. Doing nothing, I've realized these few weeks that I've really tried my best to do nothing at all, right? And while I tried my best to do nothing at all, my attention was drawn to so much that I just wanted to do in the house. It's quiet in the house, it's wintry in the house. The house can sometimes be cold. Luckily, we've got a good air conditioning here, so we can switch that on sometime. And while we are in that is our seasons discussion, right? We had our relationship talk on Wednesday. And with our relationship talk comes a lot, right? With our relationship talk comes along that requirement to once again engage with you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for saying where you're from. Thank you, everyone. If you all are still in the room, just say hi so that I know, right? But while we did our relationship talk on Wednesday, for those of y'all that hasn't, thank you for joining the room. Press the say hi and ask your questions. If those questions through, that's right. You can translate for us also there. Thank you. And while I had the relationship talk, right, we learned that we can sometimes be drawn to so much of our own attention, right? When you're in a relationship, you are drawn to yourself. And I've just now updated my magazine for those people that want to buy the magazine, right? And one of the motivations that I've written on the magazine is that the vow of the relationship requires you to be committed to yourself and to be committed to you in the relationship, right? It requires you, the vow of commitment requires you to emotionally be drawn to you, but to be committed to you, to be committed to self. When you're in a relationship with someone, right? Especially for us who's young in relationships, for our generation who's so young in relationships, right? And when we are so young in relationships, we to sometimes be drawn to everyone else that finds themselves in relationships. We are a generation of people that want to look in on relationships in order to realize where we have to find ourselves in our own current relationships, right? Our relationships, our generation treats relationships the way that they treat people walking a journey with the different seasons, right? A journey with the different fashion that's in season. Relationship is not a fashion. You can treat it like a fashion. You can dress up. I've said that the other day. I said something interesting to myself the other day. I said that because I'm now on a dating app, right? And when you go on a dating app, then you choose to decide who you want to date. And then when you choose to decide who you want to date, you choose to chat with anyone on there, right? And while choosing to decide who I want to date, because you look at the photos and then you actually decide. When you look at people's photos, you actually make decisions. Oh, I like to date this type of guy looking like this, and I choose to date this type of a person. And I made a comment to myself, and I said, because there's an elder person, right, who's now really probably in their 70s. Elder, not meaning a 60-year-old person. A 60-year-old man can sometimes be fine for Ribea, Elise, who's 40 years old. I'm talking about someone who now might be in their 70 years, in their 80 years, right? And while I'm on the relationship dating app, I mentioned to myself that if I now really become to date a 70-year-old person, and he becomes that you call, I can't now remember the type of a word, the one that now is your sugar daddy, right? Then he must probably be tasting very nice. And I know in the order of how I said it to myself and how it sounded, it is that a sugar daddy pays for all of those lovely things, restaurant moments, they pays for sometimes for your clothing closet, what you wear, they pays for everything, right? They now not Ribea, who now lives in the house with Dorian, and Dorian has now not paid for Ribea's clothing cupboard. Ribea has paid for all the furniture, and I paid for everything because I had a good career, right? And while I had a good career, and I'm not that broke, and I am financially drained, and I'm financially broke, yes. And you don't call it broke. And while I have paid for everything myself, I said that if I now have to choose someone who's now only there to pay for everything, then he must most probably be tasting very nice. Because every time that I'm going to go to a restaurant and then I'm going to enjoy that restaurant food, and then I probably enjoy it with the intention of wanting to enjoy it. I probably want to appreciate that plate of food with the intention of wanting to appreciate it. I probably want to appreciate what I'm wearing and how good I'm feeling if someone else has paid for it, and then it's probably tasting nice. It's probably not going to be the most of a miserable 6 moments in order to get the money, in order to be dressed up, in order to feel fine, and in order to have a good cheer on your social media page for having now been to a restaurant. I'm one of those people that grew up to pay for everything myself. And for women that loves the sugar daddy to pay for it, there's no problem in it. But what I'm saying, if the sugar daddy tastes nice, if it's really someone that you would be fine going to restaurants with, you would be fine enjoying your time with him, you would be fine being next to him, even the moment that you go out, you would feel that you are enjoying yourself in the completeness of yourself season and of allowing yourself to be committed to yourself, even in the relationships. The guy might be 80 years old, but then he's a man and not a guy and not a young and he's youth anymore. And when he's the man about it, I've mentioned something about the man about it also, that I haven't talked about the man about it yet. When he's completely the man about that relationship and about paying for all of your restaurant moments, all of your travels, all of your vacations, you having a good time, you feeling the goodness of the good time that you will be having, and then he's probably tasting very nice together with what you are enjoying, right? And such is the season that we find ourselves in, right? It is a relationship educational journey that requires us to have everything that tastes nice about the relationship. And if it doesn't taste nice, and because we're in an educational journey of it, who wants to only now be Ribea in the educational room, and then the husband Dorian now really doesn't taste nice, right? And then he's now really not there in the relationship. And if he's really not there, then the Ribea goes on the dating side. Ribea then checked with men, and I find out how it feels to chat with guys and where I'm at in my season with dating. Because if I'm now educating my relationship experience and not educating, but sharing my relationship journey with everyone, and that's what I'm doing on my AWOKH business, sharing my relationship journey with everyone. And then that commitment to myself in that season is that I'm probably enjoying the season. That is probably tasting nice. And that is probably one of the guys that I appreciate everything about the relationship journey and the relationship season. So for those of you all that find yourselves in relationships, if it now really doesn't taste nice, I've mentioned something in my relationship discussion that we had on my Instagram page at Ribea, Ribeah. And while I've mentioned something, and I said that the relationship season that I find myself in, I've now really forgotten what I wanted to say. But if you press play, I've mentioned everything about the relationship journey, right? And about the requirement of you to be committed to yourself in the relationship. And therefore, in the currentness of our season, let us not lose sight of the vow of commitment that is the tastiness of those wines that we sometimes enjoy when we go on relationship dates. If the partner is really not for you, if relationship dates, I've mentioned something about humiliation, yes. If it becomes humiliative in a relationship, then it now really doesn't taste nice. Humiliation now really doesn't taste nice. If you go out with someone often that embarrasses you, then it really doesn't taste nice. My husband often used to embarrass me by humiliating me with the most harshest words when we went out on dates earlier in South Africa. Why? Because South Africa grew up to be more, the colored community want to be more white in certain areas of South Africa, then realizing that they are colored and that they actually have African within them, right? They didn't grow up the way I, Ribea, Elise grew up in that is everyone is every color, right? We live in a world of all the colors. And while he grew up differently, we got sometimes to restaurants, and he sometimes would be humiliated, right? I'm just going to put the camera closer. And he sometimes would be trying to be humiliated, right? And he sometimes would try to humiliate me. And while we were then in restaurants, and while we were then required to put our attention to so much, he sometimes would just embarrass and humiliate and just say the oddest things, right? And I would sometimes had, thank you for joining, hi. And I would sometimes would have had the opportunity to now really now allow myself to be present in the restaurant and with where we are at, right? So for us who sometimes now have to be so used to our short hair, we sometimes have to be so used to our odd look sometimes, we sometimes have to be so used to our hair, eyelashes that sometimes have to be the most perfect, right? We sometimes have to be so used to our attention drawn to so much that with a relationship and with relationships, it is one thing to have your attention drawn to the humiliation in the room, and it's another thing to have your attention drawn to yourself being emotionally connected to your partner in a relationship, right? Emotionally connected means that you're gonna now the whole time feel fine when you go on dates. I love this nail color and I'm gonna do this the whole time. You're gonna the whole time feel fine when you all go on dates. You're gonna the whole time feel fine when you are dressed up. You're gonna feel fine with your short hair. You're gonna feel fine with how you wear your short hair in season, and you're gonna feel fine with everything you about your seasons, right? It is one thing for us to make everything perfect and to put the hair weave on the whole time. I love the hair weave. Our family loves the hair weave. My sister loves how we hair weaves, and we wear hair weave proud, right? And we do it nicely. But in the currentness of our experiences and of my experience specifically, we thank you. In the currentness of my experience specifically, we are sometimes required to be emotionally drawn in a relationship to your partner rather than just finding yourself in a relationship. Emotional connection, emotionally drawn, is what I call the vow of commitment in a relationship itself. And while we have a requirement and a requirement to acknowledge, right? To acknowledge our relationships and to acknowledge how committed we have to allow ourselves to be to ourselves when we are in relationships. Then we would sometimes not be so manipulated, and we would not sometimes be so broken. A relationship can tend to break you. It can break you emotionally. If someone gives you an odd comment about how you look, someone just said the air conditioning look nice, if they don't tell you that you are a gorgeous woman, that you are a pretty African woman, then sometimes, and you are in a relationship and your partner doesn't often say those things, then sometimes you tend to not be committed to yourself. You tend to want to hold on to your partner giving you those words, and you tend to want to be committed to his opinion about you in your season, right? It is those upright opinions, those direct opinions that sometimes allow us to be in the room itself, right? It is those opinions that when the room is now not the perfect Ribea Elise color, then it is not gonna have Ribea Elise now not be in the currentness of her room, right? It is that this lovely tiger blanket presents so much of everything, my hair, the woodwork of my skin color. It presents the essence of the season that I, Ribea Elise, find myself presenting and representing it, right? And while you are representing in your season, and you have a requirement to acknowledge yourself in your season, you have a requirement to acknowledge how emotionally drawn you are required to be to yourself, and you are required to be to your partner in your relationship. And a partner that doesn't give you that is really a partner that is not gonna get the attention. He's not gonna get the completeness of you when he's now really also not current in the room, right? When he's now really also not there in the relationship, when he's now really also not drawn to you, when he's now really also not happy with the Ribea list that can give all the colors in any day, when he's now really not the guy who's gonna appreciate Ribea Elise in the completeness of Ribea Elise, right? And that's where we are at with the lovely colors of our relationship journey and our lovely opinion on our relationship self. We've made a sandwich. Let's quickly enjoy part of our sandwich. Let's quickly do that. That's right. So, for any relationship journey that we find ourselves in, let us allow ourselves that is allowing yourself to find that is the commitment to yourself, right? The commitment not to anyone else, the commitment not to a relationship partner, the commitment not to how the partner now gives his opinion about you, right? The commitment, the vow to self, such as any relationship acknowledgement, right? We're having lovely tea now with lovely sandwich, grilled sandwich. And while on a relationship journey of commitment, I have to say that I'm one person that allows commitment when commitment is current in the relationship. I'm one woman that allows commitment when commitment is current in the relationship. If commitment is not in a relationship, if a partner is not emotionally committed to you, if a relationship partner is not emotionally drawn to you, then you are going to be the one person that's going to lose out on yourself when the partner is not anymore with you in a relationship. Remember being young and married many years ago. And me and my husband had this agreement. And my husband left the house. And I was so emotionally committed to my husband itself, because in that time I was in church and I was more spiritual than any decision that I've ever made. Every decision of me was gonna be that I acknowledge the spiritual requirement of me in marriage itself, right? And I remember how spiritual I used to be. And when my husband came, he was away almost for a year. And we were staying in South Africa at my mama Anna Philander's house. And while we were at my mama Anna Philander's house, and my husband left me that year, my husband had attention drawn to him in the community that we were staying. And while the attention was drawn to him, he left me once again to show me humiliation. And it is not that he wants to embarrass me, Ribea Elise. It is that he's now walking a mature journey, and probably next to him, I'm probably going to also be the mature Ribea Elise. And I did not realize it. And I had one request, and the request was that I am not going to be humiliated. And I often, when it came to the house in Paarl, and we stayed how many kilometers away from the house, I had one request that I made to him. And the request that I did not make in person, but that I made to myself, is that let me first monitor to check if he's now really wanting to humiliate me. having drawn so much attention to how he can embarrass me. Let me just check why his reactions are like this. And I remember the moments and times that I said, do you want to stay with me? Then stay at this house. And then you cannot go and stay by your auntie's house if we are in marriage. And he came again the next week and I said, but you are now looking, it seems like you want to humiliate me. Are you still in marriage with me or are you wanting to separate? And I remember, because I was so emotionally drawn to him, how painful it was for me when he was not there, because I was now not emotionally drawn, but physically drawn to him being next to me. And the moment that he was now not next to me and he was introduced in our community as being the partner that has always been next to me, Ribea, Elise, in the community. The moment that my husband was not next to me, how emotionally painful it was. And you only want to keep onto such a relationship in marriage because of how emotionally you connected and how emotionally drawn you have allowed yourself to be to your partner in marriage. It is that if we have divorced at that time, I might have lost so much of myself in the marriage vow that we have shared over the years. I would have only lost of myself only because I was so emotionally committed to him being physically next to me, to his physically relationship commitment to me. A physical commitment that, thank you for joining the room, a physical commitment that we often make as human beings with being in relationships. We often make the vow to be physically committed so that someone else can physically look at the situation and can give the situation a right tick and can say that they approve, Ribea, Elise, the person. We tend as a generation of people to want to look for approval so much that when the relationship ends, then so many people lose out on themselves and only a journey that is a relationship journey. And I remember when my husband couldn't be committed to me, I went on a dating app and I went on a date and I met someone, right? And I told my husband that, you know what, this is now almost a year. And you now almost want to humiliate me. And I'm now almost going to be Ribea, Elise, that now show you exactly what you want to do. And what you want to do is you want to now be exactly the white European next to the black woman. And you are an actual fit, light in skin color, and you are the color of South Africa also. And you want to now present this humiliation like the white European next to a black Ribea. That is now the best thing that could have happened to a black Ribea. And then I went on a date with a white European guy, with a white Afrikaner guy. And I remember going on a date and making the decision that because my husband could now not really, he couldn't really allow himself to not humiliate and embarrass me. I am now going to be the one person that exactly reveals what he's doing next to me. And I went on a date with a European guy, yes, and we went on a lovely date, and we were probably going to go on more dates. And then my husband came back, and we got back together, and I then had to end the relationship with the man that I've met that was now really there to be the physical connection next to me, physically appearing right. And that appearing right fact sometimes also has us lose out so much of ourselves. Because if someone now has to appear right next to you the whole time, then the relationship journey is now not going to be so nurturing, so producing all of those lovely fruits, those lovely tasty wines, those lovely fruit cocktails that we nowadays enjoy. And if that relationship is not going to be so tasty next to me, then it's probably me that has educated myself of the physical taste that is going to have to be nice, the physical appearance that we as a generation of people ourselves, that it's got to look right next to us. And when we tend to be so much putting our attention to how right it has to look next to us, We know there's a lot of reasons why, but we also learn that there is so much happening in the journey of birthing our generation seasons. I gave birth to 2 daughters. In the journey of seasons is a journey that births seasons, woman of seasons. We live in a universe that is a mama universe that gives birth, and everything about the universe are nudity and sex. And when we live in a world that we are tend to be so nude, and everything about us are so sexually driven, we have the requirement to acknowledge the journey that produces the seasons in the relationship. And while we have the requirement to be allowing ourselves that commitment, we have the requirement to allow ourselves to be emotionally drawn to the individual and to the relationship requirement in the season that we find ourselves at. So in saying that, everyone, that's it for our motivation today on this lovely video. We're doing our Saturday live stream tomorrow, and let us enjoy the winter season together with the commitments, the vow of commitment. Thank you for joining. Yes, subscribe. Thank you for subscribing. Tune in tomorrow. Thank you for that. Yes, subscribe. Our motivations continue in our Saturday motivational live stream video on YouTube. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I won't grow too old. Thank you for that. I will stay young. Thank you very much for that. Join our room, our live stream room again tomorrow, around about this time, around about 12:31 p.m. We're doing our Saturday winter live stream videos with me, Ribea, Elise. Right? Everything seasons discussions, everything relationship, live stream talks. Continue to stay tuned. Have an amazing, amazing relationship season with us.